Tiptoe through your life, digging in the dirt, you can stress on the strife, but I'm gonna fly past the worry and the pain today. I'm flying on faith, I'm flying on faith. You could cry all night about the things that you hate, so dissatisfied in so many ways, but I'm gonna find a way to celebrate today. I'm flying on faith, I'm flying on faith. Picked up my baggage and I threw it out the door.
Good morning, and welcome to Be Radiant, where we build and empower people to live radiant lives. I have missed you all so much. We were taking a little bit of a break last week, and I missed you guys, so it's good to be back. Remember, here on Be Radiant, we are wanting to get practical information to you on how to live your best life. We bring people and their stories so that they can let you know how they moved from, as I say, where they were to where they are now, how God blesses and gives them abundance. And this month, we've been talking about justice. And this young lady right here today has her own business. It is beautiful. I had an opportunity to talk to her. And when I tell you that light shines from her, it truly does. I'm going to let her tell her story to you today. So without any further ado, I introduce to you Miss Kenyatta Roebuck. Good morning, Kenyatta. How are you?
Good morning. I'm great. How are you this morning?
I am amazing. It's been a great day thus far. I was so looking forward to talking to you this morning, and I was just letting them know you are such a radiant young lady. When I talked to you, I felt light. You know, it was just like, yes, this is a kindred spirit. So I was very, very glad to meet you and have an opportunity to talk to you. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Of course. And thank you so much for having me here and for your kind words, of course. It's definitely an honor to be here this morning and to share my story. So I am a Savannah born and raised young woman. I am 29 years old, I'll be 30 this year. So that is a huge thing for me this year. So my mom and my dad were both raised in Savannah area. And so I have two kids, and my daughter is 6. Her name is Myla, and my son is 4. He'll be 5 this year. His name is Morgan. And right now, currently, I'm living out in the Guyton area, but Savannah is home, and Savannah will always be home. So I went to Groves High School, graduated there. I did a few years over at SCAD, and because of life, it happened. I ended up not completing my degree there, but ended up being taken down different paths. So I was married and divorced back in 2017, and that was a lot for me. But God has been keeping his hand on us ever since. So I thank him for that. And honestly, God has kept his hand on me since the passing of my mom in '08. She was actually one of the victims of the Imperial sugar explosion, and she did not make it out. And I lost my stepfather back in 2010. And my grandmother lost her a couple of years before my mom in '06. So it's been, experience after experience, just trauma after trauma. But I am so grateful and so blessed to just be here and be of sound mind and of sound spirit, and to still, just be grateful and give honor to God for just constantly ordering my steps and blessing my children and seeing us through every step of the way, day by day. Some days are harder than most. But I'm here and I'm grateful. And that's really just a little bit about me, is that I love God. I love to learn more about my relationship with God and what that means for myself and my children. Um,
Mhm.
any path that I feel led on, I'm going to go down it. I've been learning to just say yes to a lot of things, even if that means me being uncomfortable or afraid. So those are the things that have led me here. And those are the things that led me to being a single mom, being a homeowner with 2 children, and just a business owner as well. So I'm the owner of Myla Morgan Skin Therapy for Kids, and I'm also now working on my consultation business for single parents.
Oh, wow. You know what, girl? See, did I tell you this young lady is light? She is light. And you talked in there about a lot of tragedies that have happened. And I hear you say that you depend on God to help walk you through those places. What are some other things that you've done to help move from, I mean, because a lot of people, one of those events that you just talked about can get them in a place where they're stuck, where they can't move forward. But to have all of those things happen, they would not even be able to move at all. What is something, and I get it, prayer and depending on God, because He is our source. He is the first thing that we need to move towards. Good morning, Latoya. She's watching. She says she's dope. Yes, she is. Yes, she is. But what is something else that you put in to help move that along? Because, you know, God even instructs us. But go on, I'll let you tell us a little bit more about that.
So I know that sometimes it can be a little taboo, especially within our community, but I am definitely a huge advocate for therapy.
Mm.
And I have been blessed to find, a therapist that is Christian based. And,
Mm.
that's just, for me, that's like a win-win. Even if she wasn't Christian based, I still feel like therapy is just a huge asset, and it has helped me through a lot. And just to, expound on that, when my mom passed in '08, she passed on a Friday.
Mm-hmm.
I was back in school Monday morning, like, I can do this, I'm gonna do this. My mom would want me to go to school, even though she would have completely understood. But in my mind, grief and trauma was just telling me that what I needed to do was keep going.
Mm.
So, and just as a side note, anytime someone experienced such huge loss, my first thing is just take time for you.
Mm.
Don't think that you have to conquer the world today, because I thought that what I needed to do at that time was just conquer the world. And that was going to help me, feel whole inside. But I had just lost my mom in
Yes.
one of the most traumatic ways. So I went back to school on Monday. I was a sophomore at the time. So imagine just going all the way through both years, my junior year, just nonstop. I never took time off. And I remember my teachers and my counselors, they were like, what's going on? They're pulling me out of class. I'm just like, leave me alone, fine. And, I didn't know. And with us not being aware of mental health and emotional health, and having that therapist to kind of like just intercept, we had no knowledge of how to really recognize when someone is in shock, when
Mm.
someone is not handling grief properly. And I was not handling grief properly at all. So I'm going through not taking any time off and thinking that I got a handle on these things, but it's popping up. It's popping up in different ways, and I'm not able to recognize it because I don't have the proper lens to do so. So it wasn't until my stepfather, he passed in 2010, and I'm just like, I'm gonna just keep going. I'm in college at this point. I'm just gonna keep going, never taking time off, just keep going. And I got married, and all this time, you think about all these years. This is 5 years now after my mom's passing, and not a break in between. I'm just going. So now I'm spilling out into these unhealthy relationships, and these things just keep going. And now I'm a wife, and I have kids, and I have still yet to deal with my grief,
Wow.
this trauma from my childhood, and now I'm in this marriage, and I've attracted this toxicity because of that grief. So at this point in time, I have my kids, and it's not working. We split, we divorced. And it was then I realized, okay, I keep attracting, terrible circumstances or relationships, I should say. So now there's an underlying issue here. And I need to really, really outsource. So I decided to try therapy. I tried it before, but it was time to try it again and really, really get to the root of it. We had did marriage counseling, but my issues were deeper than that. So I went back again after the divorce a couple of years ago. So, now it's like years. This is years after my mom's passing, after my stepfather's passing. And I go into therapy, and it has been just a huge light. It's been my savior. And I can say that because I know that God sends us people here on earth to help us. And I'm just an advocate for it. It's helped me tremendously. And I still go. There are things I still have to work through. So yes, therapy.
Absolutely. I say something all the time: therapy and prayer, they go together. He calls himself the wonderful counselor, and I believe that he strategically has given people the ability to begin to understand this mind and how it works, and this heart and how they connect. And so, yes, prayer and therapy. And if you can find a therapist that can pray, you on top of things, girl. You're on top of things. And Latoya is on here this morning. Her mother is one of my yadas. You had an opportunity to meet my yadas this morning. And she's one of my yadas. And she is a licensed marriage and family therapist. She owns a counseling service called Pillars of Hope. And just amazing woman of God, but also has those tips, those techniques, those things that help break us out of those cycles that we get ourselves in. Because you said something when you said you were attracting this into your life because you were in so much pain. I always say it like this: hurt people hurt people. And so you were hurting and you were attracting others who also had that same spirit in them. And so, yeah, you have to break that cycle. And you mentioned that it's taboo. A lot of times in the African-American community, people are taught, you're strong, you can do this, you don't have to go talk to somebody about your problems. Well, I'm here to say that we can only go so far in our own strength. And, when you're praying, but you don't know how to break a cycle, you're praying and God can be talking to you, but it's like this little block. You can't even hear him because you got this block. So prayer and therapy, I am a proponent for it. Do me a favor, Latoya. I see you in the chat. Type in your mom's website. So if there's anyone that after this conversation, they can reach out to her because, like I said, my sister is amazing. She works with the whole family. So, and like I said, she is a woman of God, so she knows how to get a prayer to heaven too. So tell me, in this therapy, when you began to go, you said you had to realize that you were still carrying the pain from the loss of your mother. What broke with that? How did you begin to realize, man, all of these things that have happened since is because I never dealt with that? I mean, going to class on Monday?
Yeah, I know.
Wow. And I'm not condemning at all, because all of us have our way of dealing with grief. And most of the time it's not a healthy way. So how did that come about? How did you stop and say, my goodness, this is what's going on?
So I had actually experienced I had been dating someone a couple of years ago, and I was so invested into this relationship, and I was just like, okay, let's continue to proceed forward. And he done something that was just so hurtful to me. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, you know what? I have children involved. Not that they had met him or knew anything about him. But in my mindset, the goal is always to date, on a scale to be married, on a path to be married. And so I'm just like, okay, well, I have kids involved. What does this look like for me? I can't keep making the same mistakes when it comes to dating and relationships. So I need to try to figure out, why is it that I am attracting the same type of men? Because I was noticing a pattern. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I'm worth more than this. So what is it in me that is going against the fact that consciously I know that I'm worth more than this, but something is still saying settle for this. So I wanted to go to therapy. So I looked into a few places, excuse me, and she'd called me. She was the only person that actually didn't have a receptionist call me or didn't email back, and she actually called and said, "Hey, what's going on?" And so we set up an appointment, and her approach was very, aggressive. Like, I don't want to sit on this. Let me get you in as soon as possible so that we can start dealing with this, because I don't want you to change your mind about wanting to come in. So I went in, and the very first question, after, the formalities, like, how are you? How was your day? That type of thing was, tell me something that you've experienced in your childhood that was traumatic. And I was like, well, so I started telling this story about my mom's passing. And I realized, that when I started the story, I thought it was something that I can just kind of talk about in like a flyby, like, well, yeah, my mom died. I think at the time it was about 10 years ago. So I was like, yeah, she actually was 11 years ago. I was like, oh, yeah, she died about 11 years ago, so on, so. But when the question was how, and I kept going deeper and deeper into telling this story, I realized that I couldn't really tell it without choking up. I started crying, and it was as if it had just happened. And that doesn't mean that when something happens and you work through it and you get therapy, that sometimes you won't get upset about it. But it was so fresh and so new. And I realized, oh my God, I didn't think that was going to happen. And that's when I realized I haven't worked through this yet. I really have not worked through my grief yet, because if I did, I could have answered this question, I felt like, a little bit easier, but I didn't. And it was extremely hard for me to do that. So I realized that all this time I may have been trying to fill some type of void.
Ooh.
So, yes.
You just said a mouthful. And that is what happens. A lot of us have this undercurrent of our past, of trauma, something that we have not dealt with. And it weaves its way into every relationship. It weaves its way into anytime we're moving forward. It weaves its way in. And so, yes, I definitely believe that we need to get more people into a place. And if it's not a therapist, if you are just like, I cannot go to a therapist, my whole family would disown me. And that happens in our community. It really does. Find a pastor. There are pastors out there that, I have my degree in psychology, and I'm a pastor as well. I don't have an advanced degree, and I am not a licensed therapist. However, I can get you to a certain point through biblical counseling. And just find somebody to talk to. And my thing is, if you find the right person to talk to, they're probably going to bridge you slowly into where you're going to therapy anyway. That's just the truth of the whole matter, because we all need healing. I believe that every single person walking this earth today, there's been something that has injured us to a certain degree. So I'm thankful. Thank you for opening up and letting us know that. There is a beautiful picture right behind you over your shoulder. Who is that?
That's my grandmother. That's my mom's mom. Her name was Lila Mae Thompson. And she made the meanest cakes ever. She was an awesome baker. She was an awesome disciplinarian. She just had this grace about her that I still admire to this day. So I had this project when I was attending SCAD to paint 3 paintings, and I chose to paint my mom and my grandmother at the age that I was at that time. So I was in my 20s, my early 20s, and I painted them at the same age. So I found photos of them when they were at the same age. So when we went to critique them in the classroom, I hung them up on the wall, and it was my grandmother, my mom, and then me. And it was basically just a unspoken way of how they shaped who I was at that moment in time, and everything that they had taught me up until their passing still stuck with me, and it still does to this day. So that's my grandmother, and I just my daughter's room.
Beautiful, beautiful. So the generations continue, and she will learn about the strong women that were in your life. That is amazing. You painted that. Oh my goodness. So you're creative, just, all the way through and through. How has that influenced your business?
So I like to tell people that I am a jack of all trades, but I master all of it. And it's not to sound cocky in any way. I just feel like, God has graced me with the ability to put whatever I put my mind to. I truly feel like that I can conquer it. So my passion just, it transfers over into whatever area I'm focusing on in that time. So being a painter, I've done poetry, spoken word before. I love writing. I always keep a journal next to me. And I love baking and cooking. Those are things that I just love creating. I love taking something from my mind or something that just looks like different counterparts and seeing how they come together. So with my business, especially with the skincare line, when my son was suffering from eczema and cradle cap and everything, it was a challenge for me to find something that was all natural that he could use daily and that my daughter could also use as well. Because, with multiple kids and doing the whole single parent thing, you always try to find something that works for all kids because it's like one and done. Okay. So, I was like, okay, let me try to figure this out. And I saw products that I really did enjoy, but I always thought about, I would probably remove this, do this way. And it reminded me of like baking or cooking. You might see a recipe that you like, or a painting that you like, and you always tend to wonder, at least I do, what can I do differently? Okay, I like the way that this cake turned out, but I don't so-called like the texture, so I might do this recipe a little bit differently. I like the way that this pasta turned out, but I don't really like how bitter it is, so I might throw a little bit of sugar in there. So it's just the same way. I saw all these different topical products, and some had steroids in it, and I wasn't too fond of that. And some were just like harsh chemicals, and some had things in it that I really couldn't pronounce. So I was like, I don't know how confident I feel with that. So I was like, if I can do it differently, I would do it this way. So I just had the grand idea, like, okay, well, let's just do it your way. Let's see how that works out. So I started trying, doing my research on different ingredients. And that just came from my creative background. Like, okay, I'm going to put this together. So once I did my research on the ingredients, I compiled them together and I found a blend that worked well, that I could use daily. I could use on my daughter for just daily nourishment. And it also kept this eczema under control. Their hair grew, their skin was glowing, and it was easy to apply to. It didn't take a lot of time. It wasn't thick and hard to move around. Like, it was just easily applied to their skin. So that's how that came together for my creative background.
Oh wow! I listen, and it's what they call mother necessity. I don't know if you're not from my generation. You could be my daughter, as a matter of fact. But in my generation, they had these things. It was called Schoolhouse Rock, and they had one called Mother Necessity. That is the reason things are generally invented. Some woman said, "I need." Or I want, and somebody put it together, and I believe women move this whole world. I'm just saying. I may be a little biased, but you looked at the fact that your children's skin, that there was an issue, and there really wasn't anything out there that met the need, and you said, "I can do this. I can speak to that kind of spirit right there. I can do this." Can you speak to that spirit? What's in you that makes you say, "I can do this"? And I love it because it's not cockiness, it's confidence in your own ability. But go ahead, talk about that a little bit.
I think, I have to give a lot of credit to my mom and my grandmother, because they were just doers. They were just doers. I mean, they did not cut the corner with anything. And they did not cut the corner with us either. There was no pacifying. There was no, we can try it again tomorrow. Like, my grandmother was very stern, and my mom was the same way as well. So with my grandma, like, I remember my sister, she sprained her ankle, And she was just like, I don't want to walk. Like, and my grandma was like, listen, I've had a stroke, and she couldn't use one of her arms. So she would be in there as far as I can remember. As long as I can remember, my grandmother would be at the table making cakes, baking with one hand. You know, pull that bowl up to her chest and kind of like find a way to maneuver it. But she would be baking 3-layer cakes, cooking meals, you know, doing cake orders, and she was doing this with one arm. Like if got in trouble, like my grandmother would find a way to discipline us with that one arm, and we had so much respect for her. Like we did not play the radio with her at all, and so to see her, you know, having gone through the things that she went through, and she was still a rock. You know, she still did not break. It was something that I grew up on seeing. I saw that every single day as a kid. I saw that as long as I can remember, her being just this pillar. And so from that, you know, she had my mom, and my mom was her oldest child. So my mom was the same way. You know, she raised 4 kids by herself. She still had this, no, I'm going to hold you to the standard. If I brought home a B, she would look at me and say, no. And I'm like, but it's a B. Like, what do you mean? And she's like, no, we're not going to do that, because I know that you can do better than that. And it was the same way for my sister, for my brothers. It was, they did not cut the corner with us. And they had this mentality like, I can do this. And when my mom, we lived in, we stayed in the projects, you know, when we were younger. And I used to hear my mom saying, you know, I'm gonna buy me a house. I'm gonna do that. And she did it with 4 kids, and she was like, I'm gonna buy me a house, and this is what I'm gonna do. And when I buy me a house, I'm gonna take my stereo and put it in the living room, and I'm gonna play Jesse Powell's "You" and blast it throughout the house. And it's like we lived in this world of strong women where we thought that even when staying in you know, low income houses and things like that for the time that we did, we thought we had wealth because they made it seem that way. We had the best of food. We had our hair done in the prettiest way. My mom she made these sacrifices. My grandmother made these sacrifices, and I never heard them say it cannot be done. It was always, it's going to get done. So looking at them make a way out of what I know now as an adult was probably just, it seemed like there was no way, but they made their own doors. They built their own doors.
Wow, that's amazing. That is amazing. And I have to say, you know, I come from that kind of grit. I call it grit. You know, just that, hey, we can do this. But what I heard you say too is that your mom said, I'm going to buy a house. That was her first vision. The second was, you said that I'm going to play what, I don't remember the name of the song, but I'm going to have a stereo in my living room and I'm going to blast it. That's called vision. When we begin to have vision and we speak it out and we begin to say, Lord, I believe you can help me do this. Vision is the first step. Now, you also work with single women, because there are a lot of single women out there that did not have that example of a woman casting vision, because that's what your mom was doing. She was casting vision. So tell me a little bit about your consulting business, because I hear you as a visionary. How do you begin to take that vision and show other women that they can see as well?
By being open. I think, so some of the things that I ran into as a single mom, I noticed that a lot of women, they did not have a lot of transparency around them. Where sometimes, you know, we get to a point where we make it and we hit our goal and now we're thriving, we're living, we're in this place of, you know, we're in this good place, but we don't send a map back down to our people. Like, hey, this is how I did this. You know, we rather feel as though because we've gotten to the top, that if anybody else gets up there, it's not enough space for them to thrive, for the both of us to thrive. So I'm not going to tell you how I did it. I'm not going to show you how I did it. You're just going to have to figure it out on your own also. When not everybody is moving like that. There's room for everyone to grow and to flourish. So I realized, you know, I had a lot of people that would reach out to me. A lot of people that reached out to me and asked me for my advice. They would, you know, call and say, "What do you think of this?" And a close, you know, colleague of mine pointed it out and said, "You get a lot of people that ask you for your advice. You know, you should look into that because they really want to know what you think. They really want to know how you would do it." And so I also realized too that favor isn't fair.
Mm.
And I call it favor when I grew up in a household with a strong woman who just had that grit. She had that integrity. And she grew up in a household with a strong woman who had the same thing. A lot of people, like you said, they don't have that. You know, and a lot of women, they don't have the confidence or just the grit to just push through and to put those resources together. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, you know, we have to show them like this is how I did it.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
want you to win. And that's my message to other single parents. Like, I want you to win too. I want you to win. I want you to get it because nobody, you know, I had what I had, but after my mom and my grandmother passed, it took for me to start looking at different resources and just being open and saying, okay, God, whatever you have for me, I'm going to say yes to. I don't know where it's leading me, but it's going to help me go forward because you said that your only plan is for me to prosper. So I'm going to say yes to all these things because I know that that's my way of reaching prosperity. So because of that, I trusted that. But a lot of women, well, I won't say a lot of women, but some single parents, they don't know that, you know, or they don't. Sometimes that doubt creeps in, and their circumstances are just so heavy that they can't see that God has a better plan for them. So they get stuck, or they get scared, or they get discouraged. So me reaching out to them and starting this consultation business is my way of encouraging them and showing them that they have their own power. I'm just here to point it out and say, hey, I see it. Even if you don't see it, I see it. So
Absolutely. Well, I have on the screen now the actual Facebook link for your consultation business. If you are out there and you're listening to this, or make sure you're sharing this with another single mom, somebody that's making it happen for her kids and maybe feeling a little discouraged and just need someone to talk to. Send them to this page. I've seen some of the flyers for the things that you offer. You have this thing called Wind Down.
weekly wind down.
Weekly Wind Down. Talk a little bit about that, because that's pretty amazing to have something for women to be able, single moms to be able to just kind of come in, wind down for the week. Talk about it.
Okay, so disclaimer, I'm not a licensed therapist or life coach or anything like that. However, I like to share what I know. I like to be a listening ear, give advice. So my weekly wind downs, they are for people who just they're for women, single moms who want an escape. And they want to come in and talk and get information. And there's designed as a course. So for example, I had a money management course.
Okay.
And in that, I give all the tips that I feel would allow for a single mom to develop a healthy spending budget and a spending plan for their specific family. So I give all these tools and advice and how to execute that plan. But however, instead of it being a setting where, you know, a classroom setting where you're sitting there and you're already kind of feeling pressured or stressed from the week, you get to pour yourself a glass of wine and we get to have conversation, and you're still learning all this information that you can use or that woman can use to apply to their lifestyle. So it's very user specific, as in I give general tools and general skills, but there are resources and things within that course that they may have not known about, and they get to have access to it and use it. So there's a fee. And my weekly wind downs are usually $45 and they sign up, but we are on there for 2 hours and it's packed with information that they can get to transfer over into their own life. So, and I usually do those. I do a virtual. I try to think about my audience. And I know sometimes it is hard for me to have a sitter. So, I started doing virtual courses so that the kids, if they come onto the live, they're there too. And I'm like, hey, babies, we're there together. So they get this information, they write it down, they take it. And I check in with them within a week and see how everything is going. And I also have private consultation signups as well.
All right. All right. Well, I just want you to know I want to personally sponsor a woman. So if there's someone that you know would benefit and they're like, well, I can't afford it right now, I would love to sponsor one woman for you. If there's any other group out there or, person who says, I want to sponsor somebody to actually be able to participate with Kenyatta, please just inbox me or inbox her, because she's linked to this talk today, so that we can get some more people in front of this young lady. Because like I said, she is a visionary and I love it. I love it. And hearing now that it's something that's been passed down and you're willing. And let me put that back up. When you said it, I had to put it in. Where is it? Oh, goodness. I put it in somewhere where I said, oh, I know where it is. Let me get back over here. I'm ahead of myself. You want to be able to tell somebody, this is how I did this. This is how you're willing to give a blueprint. And I said a blueprint for me is saying, this is how I did it. Now you can go in and move the room around a little bit. You can change the floor plan, but this is the blueprint. This will help get you started. I love that. I love it, love it, love it. I put in the chat where you can find this young lady. You'll find her skin therapy link, and you will also find a link to her single mom consultation. So tell me right now, I always like to end with this question, Kenyatta. I always ask people, what are you doing right now that builds and empowers you to live your best life? What gives you joy?
I am further legitimizing my skin therapy line. So I'm working with ACE, and that's a nonprofit that helps get businesses to capital. So I'm working with Nita Penn there to get my business to capital. So I'm also working with SCORE, and they assign mentors to small business owners. And I'm working with the both of them because I want to definitely get streamlined. I want to be legitimized as a business. I do have an LLC, I do have an EIN, and I filed for trademarking of my business a little less than a year ago. But I want a legitimate business plan. I want to put my business in a room of a financial institution and say, hey, this is my vision. Will you support me? And have that support. So I don't want to just continue being what a legitimate side hustle. I want this to be something that I leave for my children, that they can continue to build on, and they leave for their children. So that is what I'm doing now. I'm doing all the behind the scene work for that, and I have help, and I thank God for them, for the people that have also supported me in that and are believing in me and helping me with that. Family, friends, SCORE, ACE, all of them that are helping me with that. The prayers that have come in, colleagues, I thank God for all of them. It's a group of people behind me, and I'm very grateful. So that is definitely my fuel. Is helping me seeing my children get up every day and look to me for everything is also fueling me. And I'm working on my health now. Very focused on that now. So I'm watching what I'm eating. I'm working out every day because I want to be here to enjoy the wealth that God is going to bring us with these businesses. So and just continue to empower women. I can't, spread this message, and I can't give them the best of me if I'm not at my best. So health and legitimizing my business and being here for my kids is just definitely what's fueling me and helping me live my best life right now.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. And you just said it, partnership. You're in partnership with ACE and with SCORE, and you're learning. And as you learn, that statement again. This is how I did this. You are making a blueprint. You're leaving a legacy, and I love it. I want to thank you so much for your time today. You've been amazing. I cannot wait to see what's going to unfold for you. And I plan to be right there in the audience, clapping my hands, saying, look at Kenyatta go. I knew she could do it. I knew she could do it. So I am here for you. And you just don't know. Whenever I say that, I've adopted you, okay? I've adopted you. You're right here. I am as close as a phone call, and I want to make sure that I make myself available to you. You have been a blessing. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. And I appreciate everything. Thank you so much.
If you don't mind, if you'll stay in the green room for me for just a few minutes, I'm going to go ahead and close us out this morning.
Okay.
Wow. Wow. Did I tell you guys, this woman is making it happen, and not just for herself, but she is willing to give back. She is, in fact, she says that's part of what brings her joy. So thank you guys for tuning in to Be Radiant today. Make sure you share this, especially if there's a single woman in your life, a single mom in your life that is probably kind of feeling like, I don't know if I can do this. Kenyatta has a word for her, and she may be that one that I will end up sponsoring. Who knows? But let someone know about this. And thank you so much for tuning in to Be Radiant today, where we build and empower you to live your best life. Have a great Saturday. We'll see you next week.
You could go ahead and tiptoe